Live?
Yep.
All right. It's the 26th of January. Yes, for t-shirts. Beautiful weather. It's fantastic. A bit of an update with the car. This will actually be our second take. We went a little long the first time, so we're going to get it this time. It's further along. Where to start? We put the glass in. I have the door glass. I have the quarters. Got the rear glass. So we have the glass. We've got a trunk. We've actually started fitting some of the body pieces back on the car. We've started some of the body work on the passenger side. And I need to get the bottom of the passenger door repaired. There's some kind of heavy repair to do on that. And then we still have these two sections here in the back to finish up. And we do, this is probably the best place to shoot this stuff. The transmission is in, the cross member is done, the drive shaft's in. We've yet to pull the rear differential out of the car, but that's kind of the next step is pull the rear diff out, make sure it's okay. I do believe it's all right, but you just have to know. Got the seats in. This is our eventual carpet. This is just some kind of test pieces here. We've got the dash in. We still need to recover the top of the dash. Need to finalize the shifter, cover the hole up, and then we'll mount the shifter plate. We've got of course this is the boot. We've got the weather seal, actually from a production Mustang, so that'll work. I don't have this piece without getting really into the minutia of the details here. The glove box is there, and there's no glove box, and there's no piece. I don't have this part that was up here. In fact, very little actually came with the car that was usable, and there was no interior. It was basically, this is what you're looking at, those pieces there. So what I'm going to do with that, I don't know. Probably an aluminum panel. I'm not sure. Like the door panels themselves, which aren't there, will just be aluminum panels. So I don't think we'll spend a lot of time on the dash. Going to pull the trigger on the suspension. We figured out what we need there. Kind of wrapping some of the stuff in here. Working on a radiator placement, hood hinges, and the relationship of the steering linkage to the headers, to the hood hinge, to the wiring, to the throttle cable, the eventual clutch cable routing. It just goes on and on. We're not going to worry about AC right off or heat, either one. We do have a vintage air kit that came out of a guy's Camaro that he donated, which is really cool. So we've got to do some routing with the lines because the firewalls are completely different on the donor car and this car. So we've got to route the lines, but we do have the components for the AC, which I think is really nice. We've started to show you the kind of where we're at with we started putting some color on it just to get an idea of, like, this will be the blue. You don't have to zoom in on that, but that's the blue, and depending on where the light is, it picks. It looks kind of dark in here, but you can see this one has a lot of light hitting it. And this is just, we're doing the body work, and you go out and put some paint on it and sand, and it's a long story. But this is pretty close to where the color is going to be. This is just roughly shot on there. And then this is just an old tire and some horrible silver paint, but you can get the idea of the silver wheels on the blue car. This is kind of a rough idea of where it's going to end up. And we were visualizing tire fitment. These are actually Town Car or Crown Vic police wheels from, I think it's 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. It's a 16 by 7 inch wheel, and it's perfect for what we're doing. To sort this car out, it's going to be exactly what we needed. And you can get a modern tire because it's a 16 inch, so there's some really good tires available for them. And a lot of the compound of tires for 15s is really limited in what you can get because you can't get a sticky tire or a harder compounded once we actually start getting some track time on the car, I'm not sure what the car is actually, what it's going to want. So we're looking at the 16 to do some testing stuff. And you can see the offset. It could take a bigger tire. There's plenty of room in here, so we're not married to this. This is I think it's a 225/60, which is on me. So we've got the seats in. Kind of mocking up the dash. Everything's put together. You can't see really well with the light, but the gauges are in. The tach's just kind of sitting there for right now, and not quite sure where we're going to put the oil pressure and the temp gauge yet. But not even sure about the stereo at the moment. The interior, we have to add the aluminum. It's kind of a honeycomb, about 1/8 of an inch thick or so, and it's sticky on one side, and it weighs virtually nothing. And we're gonna the whole sheet is maybe 3 or 4 pounds. It's a huge roll, but we're gonna isolate the driver from the heat as much as we can. So we'll put that on the floor, and then we'll put the carpet, and that's kind of carpet right there. But we'll put the carpet on top of the aluminum, and then of course on the inside of the roof of the car, we'll have the same aluminum to try and dissipate some of the heat, so you don't just sit there naked in the car. And then, of course, there'll be a bit more in the doors. We'll have some sound deadening. This is quite an echo chamber. And then this, we're going to fabricate an aluminum panel with a little break in it. It'll be on the doors themselves, just to where the factory door panel would have been. Don't have the roll cage yet, but it's just a hoop and 2 down bars. So the hoop's going to be roughly here, of course, across the car. And then without a back seat in the car, we can run the down tubes right where we need to pick them up on the rear suspension. So had some really nice rigidity. We've part of the issue with this car has been cost. And to even attempt something like this keeps most of these old cars just sitting behind the barn, because people are like, oh my God, I can't do it, because it's just cost prohibitive. And for most, it is. It can run into a lot of money. And then you can liquid cool your credit cards and just get a bunch of parts coming, but then you've financed everything at whatever rate the cards are, and you're looking at, can I justify keeping the car at this point? Am I going to have to sell it? Am I actually just doing all this work to sell it to somebody else? It's kind of thing. So for me, I looked at this project and said it's got to be as inexpensive as I can do it. So I'm approaching it like I have no money to in effect force me to look at other alternatives for stuff. So the motor setback, one of the examples of that, the motor setback is between 6 and 8 inches. I don't know. I don't have a stock one to compare it to, but the cylinder head is actually on the driver's side. The end of the cylinder head is actually in the middle of the wheel. So the motor is considerably set further back, and then down in the chassis, it's at least 4 inches lower than the factory motor would have been. And it's the motor and transmission out of a 88 GT Mustang. So then you've got to marry that package to the 8-inch rear end that came with this car. It's like, okay, so how do we do that? And I'm looking at drive shafts and having one made, hundreds of dollars. How long does it need to be? So we have a wrecking yard here. It's called You Pull It, but they're kind of all over the place. And there's different versions of this, but you can go there, take the pieces off the cars that are just in the lot, and not pay very much for them. And so as it turns out, because we're really hammering the budget hard on this thing, trying to reuse as much as we can, the drive shaft was $26. It was actually on a 96 V6 standard Ford Mustang. It was the perfect length. It just worked out that way. We got lucky. $26. We've got $50 worth of wheels, and they came with these tires, which are definitely Napalm tires. I mean, I wouldn't try and get down the road with these things, but the only reason that they look black and not all dry cracked and horrible is because this is paint. But we were just trying to get, and this is not a finish, so don't assume this is where we're going. But they will be silver, much nicer than this. This is the color the car is going to be, and of course the tires. And it's important, I think, for me, at least in my generation, that these have white letters on them. Now, I may end up having to paint the letters myself. I don't know. I'm sure you can still buy white letter tires, but this is what we're going for. The $50 wheel, which is a 16 by 7, some modern tires, of course, and then that's the color of the car. So we were mocking things today and trying to envision how things were going to go. The back, they fit really well. This is a 225/60, and for now, at least, we're going to run all 4 tires the same size. All the wheels will be the same, so we can get 2 sticky ones and 2 a little bit harder compounds, and then we can play with what kind of balance the car wants. What actually makes it work. Does it need a stickier tire in the back? Is the roll going to be too much of a problem? So we've got the perhaps the wall of shame before we run out of time here. we have a little ways to go. A lot of this is doing, not all of it is actual parts, but a lot of it is obviously. But like we're going to get this front suspension done because the car is currently sitting at this kind of high, weird stance because the suspension is just stuck there. The shocks are bound up; they're not moving. I mean, this suspension is on the front, anyways. It's horrible. So we're going to get all those pieces coming and put them on the car, and then I use the linkage that was on the car, which is in pretty bad disrepair, to make sure that the oil pan would clear. But we still might have some clearance issues, so I need to get all the suspension and the steering on to make sure that the oil pan is in the right spot, which I think it is. We may have to raise the motor up just a little bit. And things like the clutch cable, it's the Fox body transmission and cable, which it wasn't hydraulic, it was actually literally a cable. And then I have to adapt that to the factory clutch pedal on this car, which is not a big deal, but it's just, I have the cable. It was, I think, $17 or something. I actually went to CarQuest and bought it, which is really nice. Just walk in, there's the part. We still need to pull the diff apart. I don't anticipate any problems there, but I just want to make sure. And of course, we're going to put new seals in it over there. Finish the radiator. Need to sort out the hood hinges. Get the trunk done, the passenger door. Get the windows mounted. You can just see the list of stuff. It's daunting, but we've actually got the car to the point where we've made a list instead of it just being just throw all the time at it you want. We're actually hammering away through the list. And things like this guy. This was it's actually a '96 Mustang. Of course, it's I don't know, it's a GT or a V6 car. I don't remember, but this is actually the subframe connectors that the Ford factory put on those cars, because with the convertible top, of course, the body had a lot of flex to it. So we've got these. I've got the Ford factory subframe connectors, and I just need to get them mounted. We're going to weld them to the chassis, and interestingly enough, they fit this car, which is just there we are. So we'll put those on. We'll put the harness back in the car. A lot of body work. This is actually the inside of the left front fender. It's this Ford. I took it out so we could do the reshaping on it. Straighten the valence out. The bumpers, we're just going to hit them with the steel wool. The reproductions aren't very expensive. I'm not hung up on making the car look perfect. It's not the intent of the car. So we'll play it by ear when we get to that point. But they're kind of the end of the list. We do need to get the front back on the car. We need to fit everything, get the hood latch back reinstalled, put lights on it because we're heading towards that. Put plates on it, get a sticker, get some insurance. That's why we got the wipers in, the cowls on, and actually make the car street legal. Of course, we've got to get a lot of things put back together, and it just kind of lays one piece at a time. Like the heater hoses, we'll get those on. We're not worried about the AC right now. Get the car done, get the distributor in. and started getting all these systems put back together. And you can see the hood hinges. And we're going to clean those up. We're not going to run the springs on the hinges themselves. These were notoriously weak and would bend. These need a lot of work, but without the springs on them, we'll put a rod and just like all the modern cars, right? Just have the prop rod under there to hold the hood up, and then no springs means the hinges won't bend and the hood won't be flexing, and it'll just be a happier setup. So we've got the not even sure where to go at this point. We're getting there. I don't have a date for actually starting the car. Short of dropping a distributor in it and putting some rudimentary fuel system on it, I could just pour gasoline down the carburetor, hang the distributor on it, and it would run right now. But I need to get the belt on and get the cooling system done and get the charging system on. So there's no rush to actually just start it. And like the header on that side, it still needs to come back out. To get clearance, I'm going to have to heat the pipe up and bend it a bit so it'll clear the steering box. And then we'll wrap the headers in the heat tape, kind of an asbestos type thing. We'll wrap the headers, try to keep some of the heat contained, go down the exhaust. Got to build the exhaust, hang a couple of glass backs under there. Very rudimentary. We're going to stop before the rear axle, which might be a mistake with the car. There may just be too many fumes and issues, but I can't start it without exhaust on it because you won't be able to hear a motor issue or perhaps potential clutch issue or something else. So it does need exhaust to do its first start. I don't want to just wing it like that. And we can't do that, or I don't want to do that until I get the diff out, apart, make sure everything's okay, pre-lube all the bearings, of course change the fluids out in it, and then we'll put the car in the air up on stands. And when I do get the motor to start, warmed up, and that's all happy, then we can make sure all the gears work and the drive shaft's happy, because it was a $26 drive shaft when you pull it, and it wasn't bent. It looked okay. It was a running car at some point, then the motor popped, whatever happened to it. But it didn't get put there because the drive shaft was bad. But if there is a vibration or there's something going on, we need to know. So, and before we go anywhere, I'd like to put brakes on it. As you can see, there's no master cylinder, no brake lines. We're going to have to build those. And of course, we need a fuel line to wherever said pump is going to be mounted. Of course, there'll be an electric pump. There's no proviso on this block for a manual pump. So I'll have to put an electric one back in the back and route the lines up here. So it's probably midsummer, I'd say, in primer, street legal, able to get in the car and go to the store, something like that. With AC and truly, do project cars ever get done? Are they ever completely finished? No, I don't think so. Mark just grabbed the marker. I think he's fixing to write something out, so could be trouble. Well, what else have we got? We have the correct wheels. We've got the seats, most of the glass. I think I think that about wraps it. I think that's where we're at. So I just wanted to put something up and kind of get people up to where we're at right now, where we're mentally at, which is it's quite a mountain to climb. You can see the list over there. But we're knocking things out, and we'll start as we knock those particular jobs out. We'll start crossing those off. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Alrighty.
Anyway, thanks, folks, and we'll get something up here in another couple of weeks probably, and I don't know how riveting or exciting it'll be, but it'll be where we're at. So thanks.
See you next time.